Just a few thoughts and reflections and looking forward as well. We mentioned the special issue, and today you've heard 4 brief presentations from them, but there's a lot more richness and addition to the body of knowledge. So I would encourage you, if you are interested in carbon metrics, to please have a look at all the papers, which you can find here. They're free to download. Of particular interest, in addition to the science, which has been discussed in today and in other papers, there's also 2 papers of note which show government actually interested in this, developments in Finland and also in Switzerland. So I would commend that to you. Very briefly summing up what we've learned today about carbon metrics is that they can provide a much greater transparency and based on scientific understanding. They can be used by many actors and stakeholders, and they have a significant, potentially significant and useful role in policy and practice. But it's also clear that they could form a basket of instruments and metrics for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And we may need more than one to do so. We've also heard about carbon budgets and the sense of urgency of 30 years or less, which is very short for the built environment. We've heard and learned that carbon budgets can be based on clear scientific data to stay within the goals set by the UNFCCC. Carbon budgets set a clear, practical, and scalable targets for different projects at different scales, different times. And they sit well within climate policy frameworks, and they can become a basis for legal requirements and regulation. So what are the next steps? What are the challenges? Some of that has to do with changing the mindset of many others in our industry and elsewhere. And we are starting on a process of engagement with policymakers and regulators, which is top down. And at this conference today, I was very pleased to hear about engagement with what might be called middle actors, professionals, clients, and others. They're equally important to carry along with us. Today, we've heard about clarity or further clarification needed on methods and calculations, what they can and cannot do. But we also need some further development about ease of use by different stakeholders, but clearly we don't want them to be dumbed down. It's also very important, which we didn't discuss, is how we collaborate and work with other sectors of what the built environment is. And Thomas Lutskendorf reminded us the built environment is not a sector, it's an area of activity. So we need further engagement with other sectors, other industries that we work with. And something we didn't raise, but I think is actually quite important as well, it was implicit in what Thomas Lutskendorf said, is how do we find a socially just and equitable solution to carbon budgets, both within a society and between societies? So the next steps for research and engagement, I've talked about clarity of methods and models. We've heard about data gathering and analysis, creating reliable databases. We need to think further about application projects themselves and show viability at different scales. There are some interesting and emerging case studies. There's a lot more to be done about engagement with the public and industry and gather their support. And we need to also involve and think about policy literacy and governance inside the built environment sector. In terms of training and education, we need to start now. so that people who are in universities and training begin to be fluent and comfortable with these concepts and models. And I think also we need to embrace social, economic, and political issues surrounding this. Um, Carbon budgets are much more than scientific and technical matters. In order for them to be successfully and quickly adopted, we need to understand that there are social and political issues associated with that. So to end, I think we need extensive partnering and co-production, both within and outside the built environment community, and especially with the climate policy community. Thank you. That ends my thoughts.